Good day, everyone. This is Meredith Leon McCormick for World Bride. It is another year and another year for us to get it right. Thank God for all the wonderful blessings that we have received and will continue to receive. And this year, we wanted to start it off right. And I wanted to invite an extraordinary woman who has the power to empower us, enlighten us in ways where we can build our wealth and sustainability. And it is not just simply because of money, but it is about knowledge and expression of our legacy that we're building. We keep expressing using the term legacy, but what does legacy mean and where does it begin? So I am proud to introduce to you on this first segment of the new year, Miss Carla Nelson. Carla Nelson is the creator and president and CEO of Black Fashion World Foundation. And she is also a real estate agent at Caldwell Banker in the Harlem office. So I want to welcome you, Carla.
Hi. I'm so happy to be with you today, and Happy New Year to you, girl.
Thank
We both look like money
I
today.
know. I swear. When you came on, I was like, wait, nobody would ever believe that we did not plan this
We didn't do it.
ensemble. Oh my God. You
Talking
look
about
amazing.
world. And you as well. we knew. That's why we're supposed to be on this call.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, I am excited just to have this conversation with you, just because I owe you so much. I have the honor of working with you with your foundation, and you were the one that was responsible for getting me to be a guest speaker at Clark Atlanta University, the HBCU, and I was able to hire 2 interns for the past summer. And so for that, I want to thank you so much.
I want to thank you.
No, it is our responsibility. And you shared that. So it was very important for me to invite you to be my first guest, because on Mindful and Spiritual Mondays, because you inadvertently literally showed me that I can't talk it, I have to act on it. And you inviting me made me accountable for the words that I put on World Bride magazine and any of the words that I say. So I thank you for that. And so one of the conversations that's really important to me is legacy building. You and I speak about this, that it is because we're spiritual women, that in the scriptures, it tells us that home ownership, land ownership was the inheritance that we were to leave our children and our grandchildren.
The children's children.
Exactly. And so for me, somehow I feel like we as a people, and I'm sure it's because of circumstances for some, we don't have that knowledge. We don't have that experience anymore. So I wanted to have this conversation. But before we go deep into it, I want you to completely introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So starting with your name and the name of your companies.
Okay. Well, I am Carla Nelson. I am the creator of Black Fashion World Foundation, which is a nonprofit focused on empowering Black fashionpreneurs, which are fashion designers, retailers, and marketers. And at the same time, I'm also a real estate agent here in New York. I've been in the financial industry for 12 plus years. I've worked in commercial insurance. I work in personal lines insurance, done a little bit of mortgage brokering. And then in 2019, I stepped over into the real estate realm. Mainly because of that reason, because I'm one of these people that learns by doing. And it's something that isn't taught in school. It isn't something that, unfortunately, I saw as a youth. So, jumping in, learning about how to develop wealth, helping people develop wealth, because homeownership is one of those first ways. One of the best investments that I ever made in my life, I'm in New York now, but I was in South Carolina before I moved here, was buying a condo. I had no clue I was going to make money while I was sleeping. I had the condo 4 years and made $20,000. 4 years because
you knew
growth.
And you knew that this was a start to what was going to be bigger. So you started out as a homeowner, with your home ownership, and now you're running your own segment as an agent. That's your own business, literally.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm going to grow a portfolio of properties because that is wealth. As I said, that's making money while you sleep. If we don't see that right now during the pandemic, one of the things I noticed during the pandemic is there were people who had rental property who were renting, and they had set themselves up correctly. They were able to take care of individuals in the properties that could not pay their rent because they'd set their portfolio up correctly. So we want to get to that point. We want to be able to be that lender and not that borrower, as the Bible talks about. We want to be able to set ourselves up right. Now, yes, I'm in an apartment in the New York area, but the thing about it is, within my complex, we were making modifications. So I knew I was in the right place. We were making modifications and renovating the building, wherein other complexes weren't able to do that. They weren't set up appropriately, and they weren't able to pay for their rent. And then the tenants were having challenges too. So absolutely, having wealth through real estate is important because now I can expand. I can have agents under me, and we can all help everybody who's listening get their home and go forward.
Wow. So not only are you helping yourself and setting yourself up for wealth, but you're also in a position now to help your fellow man, your fellow neighbors, and through education and providing jobs. So you're solving a whole lot of problems in your own community.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
So my next question to you is, you kind of answered it that wealth and real estate are connected, but why do you feel that there's a disconnect with people between that? Why are people so afraid of entering into home ownership or property ownership?
Yeah, you fear what you don't know.
Mm.
And so whenever you find yourself in a fearful state, you have to say, what am I afraid of? What is it that I do not know? And then begin to seek out the individuals while we're having this conversation that can help you with that information. There is nothing to fear with home ownership. What you should fear is if you, which I'm not going to be doing for long. But really, what you should fear is if you're renting and you're consistently renting, and you don't have any wealth. That's what you need to fear, because you don't have anything you can pull from. You don't have anything you can use as an asset. When you purchase a home, that's an asset. It increases your net wealth. You can use that because as you're making your payments, you're gaining equity. Not only that, you're gaining the equity, and as the value of your home increases, depending on where you are, which is something we have to talk about.
Right.
If you get a home that's in an area that isn't, and I hate to say this word, but I'll say this, if it isn't well kept, that can affect the value of your home.
Right.
But with that said, you can get a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, pull money out. Now, you don't want to pull all your money out, but you can pull a portion out to put into other investments so you can continue to grow your property. We as a people haven't been taught. Simple, perfect example that comes to my mind, which I would not recommend doing, and I'm not an accountant. My undergraduate is in accounting, but when I was working as in a mortgage brokerage, there was a gentleman who came in. He wasn't our shade, but he knew how to use a home that he had as a tool. He wanted this car. He refinanced his mortgage to pay for the car in cash. So then he was getting a tax deduction almost on this car.
Wow.
Now, that wasn't the reason I say I wouldn't recommend doing this, because he pulled out cash to buy something that's not an asset. Cars are not assets. That's a liability. But the thing is,
the
he
action
knew
that
that
he
this
took.
home is a tool. And so we have to learn that. We have to learn what we need to know to get in and stay in. Getting a blessing is one thing, but you want to be able to maintain it once you get into it. This is the perfect time. It's still a seller's market. The rates they're expecting are going to increase this year. There are a lot of cash buyers, which I'm going to be. But at the same time, wherever you are, there is a fit for you. If you're not ready right now, but the thing is you have to find out where you are, and we can talk about that more later. You can reach out to me, I can help you, I can put you in contact with the right brokers or lenders to help you figure out where you are. But this is the time. There's a turning going on right now. We have to realize that this is a mighty black day.
Right. And it's interesting that you made so many beautiful, you dropped so many beautiful gems. When you talked about the gentleman that pulled out equity, I remember seeing a video clip that Roland Martin did about wealth and why it's so important for us, Black people, minorities, brown people, to make sure that they invest at least one property, because that one property will enable you to pull money out, which that gentleman
Absolutely.
did. But now that home ownership also allows you to be able to get a business loan, start a business, send your kids to college, and it keeps building, like you said, the equity. But one of the major problems that I found that we have is, and not just we is not limited to just Black people, just
Right.
we in general, the middle class and under us, we don't have credit. We don't know how to use credit. We get a Macy's credit card. We max it up. We don't know how to use it. We don't pay it on time, or we pay just enough on it. So can you tell us I have my list of questions. What are some of the things necessary for people to become smart, successful business homeowners?
Yeah.
Starting with credit, down payments, closing costs, attorneys, mortgage, and emergency fund. What are some of the things that you could recommend as far as that's concerned?
Yeah. There's a plethora, and I'll give you some. I actually have a guide that I can share with people that will help them prepare along the way. It will explain the closing costs. It will explain the credit. It will explain choosing a loan that is right for you. It's a lengthy process, but people, as I say that, don't get inundated with it. You just take it step by step. One of the first things you want to do, especially getting married, is people have premarital counseling. You want to have a premarital conversation about your finances. What are your financial goals? If one person may be lacking in one area, that's okay. Your vows, unless you change them, say for better or for worse. And the Bible talks about if one falls, then the two are better than together. If one falls, then the other one can pick the other one up. So It's okay, but you got to know where you are and where you're starting. So you want to know what kind of debt load. When you get ready to pre-qualify for a house, and you have to pre-qualify before you can even go looking for a place, they're going to talk about your debt to income ratio. Okay. That's just one of the factors. They're going to talk about your reserves. You need to have 6 to 8 months reserves saved up to survive on your regular living expenses. But at the same time, you need to be ready for your down payment. Now, down payments can range. A condo. I'm based in Manhattan, so there's a lot of co-ops here. A condo can be 10% or less. Then you can get into the 20% down payment for a co-op or a home. Then you can get into 25% multifamily. So I suggest that you reach out to me. I would love to share this guide with you that you can read through. We can talk about how you can get ready. You want to be ready, things you have to pay for upfront. Your inspection, that can range from $350 to $1,000. Which is important. You got to get that inspection before you move in, so you know what's going on with that home.
Right.
It's like buying a used car. Even if it's a brand new, you want that inspection so you know what's going on. Then your appraisal expense, you got to pay for that as well, so you know what the appraised value of the home is.
Right.
Then the closing costs. You always, in the closing, there's several things, from your taxes, your insurance. They're going to set up an escrow account so that comes, your taxes and your insurance come out of your house, your payment each year. So you're paying that incrementally. With all of that said, starting right there where I talked about incremental, how they're taking that out each month of your mortgage payment to prepare for your taxes and your insurance for the next year. That's how you want to take this process. You want to take it incrementally along the way. So I'm glad to help you with that. Something to think about while I'm talking about that, a multifamily home, which is an excellent investment, because you can live on live on one level or one side, depending on how it's set up. And you can have a renter and start your wealth building even more so on the other side and pay for your mortgage.
It's
So
so amazing that you even said that, because that's one of the conversations that I had with my daughter who got married a few years ago. And her and her husband, they're planning to start their family as well as buy a home. And one of the conversations that I did have with her was, and it was based on my own personal experience, was buy a multi-level
mm,
home, because what I learned during the pandemic as a homeowner, thank God I had a two-family home. And because when everything shut down and my revenue stream stopped coming in from the outside in my business, which is the wedding business, and we couldn't
right,
have weddings, my
yeah.
rental is what kept us alive. That is what did it,
Mm,
So that
that
property proved to be my lifesaver, and so I feel blessed. So I told my daughter and my son-in-law, I'm strongly suggesting that, your first home might be a multi-level
mhm,
home, so that at least the tenant
yeah,
can help you pay. It is no longer, it's an asset and not a liability to you.
right,
When, because if you buy a one family home, you have to get up every day and go to work. You have
yeah,
no choice. That mortgage is due at any cost. But your
mhm,
chances are greater when you have a tenant, that source of income is coming
yeah,
in. So I'm so proud and glad that you said that, because that's information that I retained and I learned. And so when I bought my home some 21 years ago, that was my thinking. I'm like, oh my God, I am a freelance artist. I work today, this week. I might not work anytime next month. So
yeah,
I needed to be able to have at least half the mortgage paid. It would
exactly.
give me some level of peace of mind. So I really appreciate,
Yeah,
you giving
that's what
that
I'm gonna buy.
information.
That's what I'm searching for myself. So,
So
you
you
know,
practice what you preach.
that's what I'm looking for because I know just what you said, and you're a witness to it. You
Yes,
lived through it.
yes,
The pandemic hit, your wealth, your income stream was cut, but you still had another stream.
absolutely. And,
Let me
and
back up. Your primary stream was cut, but
right,
your investment stream was not
no,
because
not at
you
all.
had real
And
estate.
when I bought the house 20 years ago, when I compared to what it's worth today, it was pennies.
Yep.
It's literally pennies I paid for it to
Yeah.
what it's worth today. It appreciated
Yep.
thousands of dollars more than I paid for it, and
Absolutely.
so I'm able to live off of it. And, which leads us to, the other question, how to build it. Is real estate the way to build legacy and inheritance? And you mentioned in our other conversation before we started this, that there's a difference between a will and putting
Oh
things,
yeah.
um can you
Plus,
elaborate a little bit about it in putting it in a trust?
absolutely. So, and I'm not an attorney, but being in the financial realm, this is what I've learned over time.
Right.
A will is something that, um, unfortunately, your family can contest. I think I'm using the wrong word,
Yeah,
but
contest. No, you're right.
um, they can go against the court and they can ask that the estate be opened up.
Right.
With a trust, they don't have to. They can't because it's set up. If you can set up a revocable and an irrevocable, but a trust is something that they cannot contest against. It just passes through based upon how you've set it up. This is one of the tools that the wealthy know that those individuals who are working towards wealth don't really
Right.
know.
Right.
Um, Unfortunately, in a situation, I'll tell it, my grandmother knew, come on, she had what, sixth grade education? She did well. She knew to buy property, but she didn't know how to utilize it as a tool to grow.
Mm,
She knew about the equity, but she didn't know about like the multifamily and rental, and she didn't know about the contracts of how, she had one
right.
renter, but she didn't know how to enforce it and things like that. So when she retired and she became ill, she wasn't set up. So we
Right.
had an option. Now, this is the option we had. We could sell the property to pay for her care, or we could actually do what's called a reverse mortgage
Mhm.
and pull out money from that property to pay for her living arrangements for the rest of her life.
Right.
So those are things that people don't know, and that's why it's good to get that mortgage. Look, you don't, some people are fearful of that 30-year term. It's okay. Just because you get a 30-year term doesn't mean you have to stick with 30 years. You can pay it off
Right.
quicker. You can pay money towards the principal. Make sure
Right.
you put down principal when you send it in
Right.
and continue to pay down that mortgage sooner and have more equity within your home.
Right.
So absolutely, definitely.
That's amazing. And this is one of the reasons why I think it's very important that we try to do a workshop with you, because I would love to invite, because you answered my questions, some of our couples to join us in
Yeah.
conversing with you about taking the necessary steps now
Yeah.
while they're talking about marriage, because you mentioned it earlier in the conversation. Just like you go to marriage counseling before you get married, you should also have counseling about your finances, check your credit together so you can see where you guys are starting with.
Mhm.
Money is one of the biggest reasons why people get divorced, and
Yeah.
all of those things are fixable. All
Yep.
of it is fixable, and so that's one of the reasons why I think it's very important that we continue the conversation of sustainability. And the sustainability, how do you sustain your marriage? The last year we closed the year with interviewing Mr. Robert Hendricks about the process of marriage and the root of marriage,
Mhm.
and how do you keep a sustainable marriage. But if divorce happens, it's happened. When you ask people why they're divorced, it's rarely because of infidelity that ends it. It's because they have money differences, there's secrecy, there's no open, honest conversation. So if we do this before we get married and
Yeah.
while we're married, it
Preventative
becomes
maintenance.
key. Exactly. And so that's where, for me, I feel like this conversation, let's address the money problems, which is one of the major problems, reasons for divorce. How do
Yeah.
we address it? What didn't you talk about? What should you be talking about to,
Mhm.
so that you can sustain your marriage,
Oh,
healthy marriage, not just being married, living in two people living in a house and living two
yeah.
separate lives, but are you partners in business and family and spirituality? All of that has to be communicated to the person you intend to spend the rest of your life with. You have to. You said forever. It's not when things don't work out, you're like, okay, bye.
You
No,
gotta undress.
boom. And that is one of the reasons why it was so important for us to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Because like you just shared with us, it's all fixable. It's
Yeah.
planning. And you said take it in increments.
Increments.
increments,
Yes.
and that's the
Oh,
operating word. How
take it
much can we
in.
take? When can we start?
And don't be ashamed.
Ooh, powerful.
If you are ashamed, there's no reason for you to be ashamed. There is nothing new under the sun.
Hmm.
Somebody else has already experienced what you may be experiencing. There's nothing wrong with that. Life is more important than anything. As long as you have that good relationship and you have that good bond, you can work through anything together. And if you're talking about marriage, that's where it starts.
Right.
That communication, that commitment, and that compromise. And you have to have that conversation about money. Look, I ran in the mortgage. I had a situation when I was doing mortgages. A woman came to me crying.
Mm.
She was the person who her husband trusted to be responsible for the mortgage payments in the house. And she messed up and they were about to lose her house and her husband did not know.
Wow.
She
That's
was devastated because how was she going to tell her husband, who was working blood, sweat, and tears to help pay for this house, that she had messed up spending money? You have to be, now we were able to help her refinance at a really high rate and save it. That's where that credit comes in. But
right.
you go in undressing, being truthful about your spending habits. any challenges you might have had before, because if it was a challenge before, it could possibly be a challenge again.
Right.
But you learn your trigger points and let your spouse know this is a trigger, that, it's a partnership, as marriage, so you help each other. So I'm thankful for this conversation.
No, that was powerful, powerful. I really appreciate all this information. I'd love to, if you can, do you have any last minute words that you want to share with our readers and viewers? I would like very much for you to give us your contact information, your website, and an email that they can contact you directly.
Yeah. It's a new day. It's a new season. Things are turning. Be anxious for nothing. Wherever you are, start where you are and go forward. This is a day, the Bible says that the wealth of the unjust is stored up for the just. This is your day. Seize it. Start where you are, work forward, and you can have it. You can make your dreams of home ownership, or even property management for that matter, come true. I'd love to speak to you. Herring, Harring, Car, CAR, or on Instagram or Facebook. You can contact me with one or two numbers. 718-921-3100, extension 720 is the office number, or my cell, which is 646-964-7417. Feel free to reach out to me. There's no reason to be ashamed. Let's go forward. Let's make 2022 and beyond all about wealth building.
What a fabulous closing. Thank you so much, Carla. This was wonderful. I am so excited to start the new year with that. So with that, I am going to bid you good day. And we are going to build nothing but blessings and wealth. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. This has been a pleasure.
So guys, there you have it, Miss Carla Nelson. I have committed to educating you, our readers, with a wealth of information, and it starts with us as individuals looking in the mirror and being bold enough and courageous enough to address it and going out to do something about it. So please continue to follow us on all our social media platforms and continue to be good and kind to one another, and we too shall be successful in all the things that is promised to us. So until the next time, ciao bella.